what's going on, beautiful Jellyfish? It's Tracy, and today I'm doing a real talk on a mishmash of a lot of different things because I have a lot of things to say. So I was like, I'm feeling it. I gotta film this video today. I was like in the car, and I typically like come up with a video idea, and sometimes I kind of plan out like what I'm gonna say. Like if I'm doing like one of like my top 10 lists, I always jot them down beforehand, but like for these I like to have ideas of what I'm gonna talk about, but sometimes it's more scheduled than others, if that makes sense. But like I don't write anything down for these real talks because that's kind of the point, is they're like unfiltered, unedited, pretty much just, you know, straight, this is how it is. And I wanted to do this because there's been so many things that have come up recently, I would say, and it's kind of cool because of me getting back into Modern. I feel like I now have way more content for you guys, if that makes sense. Like obviously before, like I still had content, but like now I have more like Modern stuff that I can talk to you guys about. Like before I was doing Modern videos, but like I wasn't playing it, but now it's different because I can, you know, really talk about the format and like do updates for you guys because I really enjoy filming Modern updates. I actually just filmed one, but the thing is I pre-filmed that because I pre-filmed like a ton of videos when I was on spring break from the school that I work at, which was awesome because I had so much filming time. It was great. But I filmed that, and I think that video actually went up last week, but that video I filmed like 3 weeks ago, and so a lot has changed in 3 weeks, even though that may not seem like a long period of time. So I kind of wanted to do this just on, like I said, a bunch of things. Talking about performance, and I want to talk about decks, and I don't really know where I'm going to start with this video, so I'm just going to like pick one place and like try to go from there. So I was talking to one of my friends, Zane, who I've mentioned to you guys before. And Zane, and I'm pulling up the conversation on my phone, I'm not like ignoring you, I'm pulling it up on my phone. But I was talking to him on Facebook because he's kind of like one of my go-to people to talk about Magic stuff with. And Zane, as this part, is like one of the best Magic players that I know regardless. And we obviously talk about Magic like a ton when we talk. And so we were talking about stuff, and he's like, I was like, you're like one of the best Magic players I know. And he was like, well, like I haven't had a positive record since like June. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I was like, you're good at Magic. I was like, stop like being bad, like, you know. And he's like, I'm playing Legacy, and like I'm getting wrecked. And he's like, and it's a format like I think I'm good at. I mean, he's good at all formats, but you know, Legacy is like one of his things along with Modern. And he's like, maybe my deck is bad, but people keep putting up results with it, and it's the most popular control deck. I don't know things about Legacy, so I don't know what deck he's talking about, but yeah. And he's like, I hate blaming large things on variance, but I keep getting the short end of the stick. No winning die rolls. Played my worst matchup 3 times in a row on one of the days he went to a tournament. My opponents are so lucky all the time. And so I was like, really, like that conversation has actually happened. This conversation happened like a little bit ago. I was planning on filming this video. This happened like at the beginning of March. So it's, you know, pretty much like a month or so ago. And I was like thinking about this, and like a lot of really solid things that he said in there that I feel as well. So now I'm going to do a different example. So John Martin, who I did the Dredge deck tech with, which I'll link in the down bar below because that was like a really fun video to film. Not a deck I really knew that much about before doing that, so it was really cool. And I was talking to John, and we were talking about like him and his deck, and he was just like, you know, he's on like Dredge, and he's just like, he's like, like this deck, like I don't even know if I like want to play this or whatever. And I was just like, you love this deck, like this is a deck you've played for a while. And like he's like talking, and he was also saying he was like, oh, I'm so bad at Magic, and he's like, I'm gonna lose every round. And I'm like, you sound like a copy-paste version of me, and it's kind of weird, like the things that you're saying, because I'm someone who says it all the time. Like I'm gonna play Modern tomorrow, Wednesday, and I'm like, I told Paul, I was like, I'm gonna lose every round, and then he's just like, oh, stop. And I'm like, no, like I'm one of those people, like I feel like and it's not like me being like down on myself. I don't want like that to come off as like a thing, but it's just like an ongoing joke that I joke with my Magic friends, like I'm really bad at this game. And like obviously there's like truth to that. Like I am by no means the best Magic player ever. So like one thing that I think really was eye-opening to me, I think, about this conversation with Zane and then Doggy and John, was that I'm like, these are 2 people who are really good at Magic. Like John's won a GP. Zane's like really, really good at this game. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, there are so many people I know who are so much better than me that are like super hard on themselves for performance. And like, I I like embrace the fact that they were so hard on themselves that I'm like, wow, like I'm not alone, as like cliche as that sounds, that I'm like, I'm super hard on myself, like with my performance. And I'm like, these people who are so much better than I am that are like really hard on themselves too. And it just made me feel like a whole lot better, which was really, really cool. And so one of the things that Zane said was, he was like, oh, you know, like maybe my deck's bad. And so like, it's so funny is like, I was reading this article, which, oh, that's another thing I wanted to tell you guys. I'm gonna list it in the down bar below. This Jim Davis Star City Games article, which I thought was awesome, about how he did at Dallas Fort Worth. And he did a video, it was really cool actually. He like wrote about like all of his matchups like leading towards the top 8 or in the top 8, I think. And he was saying how, no, did he get in top 8? It was like something like that. I think it was like the top 16 or something. And he was talking about like the mistakes that he did. And I thought it was really cool and a really sweet article, because he's like talking about how like, hey, listen, like, you know, Jim Davis, like good control player, but he was like, listen, I made like a bunch of mistakes and like this is what I should have done instead. And it was like really cool to see that, again, from someone who's highly accredited, for someone who's really good at Magic, to see them like put themselves out there and say like, hey, I've made mistakes too, like that's okay, like growing from them. And I think it's really important. Like, I think mistakes are bad when you don't learn from them and when you don't grow from them. Like, obviously everyone's gonna make mistakes and like that's just gonna be the reality, but it's just like, you just have to like, there's no other answer than to really just learn and to grow and say like, okay, so I made this mistake, like what are we gonna do about it next time? And that's like one thing is, I was playing Magic yesterday with one of my friends, Isaac, shout out to you, Isaac, if you're watching, and we were playing, and he's playing 3-color Pyromancer right now, which he's changing it to 4-color Pyromancer, because I've been telling everyone about like Brennan DeCandio's 4-color Pyromancer list, because I'm obsessed with it. I think it's sweet. It runs like Bedlam Reveler, and I'm like, I want to cast that Magic card. That sounds awesome. It's like Juns, but like it doesn't run Goyf and Dark Confidant. I hate those cards, you guys know that. So I'm like, this is sweet. It was like Lingering Souls. Like, this is awesome. Anyways, so, and I was the person who was just like, dude, why are you not playing 4-color? Like, what? And I told my friends about it, and they were like, this deck's sweet. And I'm like, yeah, build it. It's cool. Anyways, so he was playing Pyromancer, and we were like playing like a bunch of games. We played like 6 or 7 games, because it was getting late and I had to go home and sleep because adulting. And we were playing, and we were talking about like the decks, and he was just like, you know, my deck, and he was like, oh, like what do you like hope to be paired against, and like how do you feel about your matchups and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I was like, to be honest, you know, I haven't played that much with the deck now as it sits. Like, if you guys remember, I had Grixis Control back like 2 years ago, and I rebuilt it because I love it so much. And we were talking about it, and he was like, what good matchups are you good against? And I was like, well, Affinity matchup was really good, because like you're running things like Electrolyze, which is great against Affinity, and K commands, because you pretty much K command and then you get to destroy 2 things, because you can do 2 damage, but it destroys target artifact, so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone for 3 mana, which is awesome. And Electrolyze is so good, and then you're also running like Fatal Push and Terminate. Like, you're running so many sweet cards against that deck. And so we were just bouncing, like, you know, just like talking about matchups and stuff like that, and pretty much I was just like, you know, he was like, we were talking about it because like, I feel like with the whole Jace thing, I feel like this is control, I feel like is now like a huge topic of conversation. Like, I think before, like when Twin got banned, I feel like they was like, oh my god, control, and then like Twin got banned, and then I feel like control was really not great, and I think people like stepped away a lot from the format. I think after that, stepped away from control in the format after that happens, which totally makes sense. A lot of people were really upset about that and didn't want to make the decks. And now you have like other versions of control. Like, I feel like you typically see Jeskai like America control right now, which is still really cool, and I think that deck's awesome. And then you have like regular blue-white, like Grixis. I've seen like the like Kiki Moon deck, which has that combo, but then you also run Blood Moon in your main board. So you have like versions of that. I feel like Grixis is not really popular, you know, amongst the control decks, because I just think blue-white and Jeskai totally like just overshadow Grixis. And I was just saying like how, you know, I don't really know how a lot of my matchups are going to work, because I haven't really played it that much at like now, you know, I played it in the past, and I was like, with things changing and stuff like that, and we were talking about things, I was like, the Affinity matchup's good. I was like, I think the Jun matchup is pretty decent. I think the deck runs a decent amount of removal to deal with that. I mean, yes, Jun does run hand disruption and things like that, but if you have a decent hand where you can just rip their hand apart, and like if you rip their hand apart and like you have just kill spells, I think you just do really well in that matchup. And then you side in, you know, like I'm running I always forget the name of the card. It's the 3 mana, just deal 3 damage to all creatures. If they die, they get exiled. That card, I can't think of the name of it right now. That red card, but that card's sweet. And Anger of the Gods, that card's awesome. And that's like really sweet. So but yeah, so we were just like grinding some games and we were talking about like that matchup for me and how like playing against Pyromancer is, and I was like, well, it's like I think it depends, because like there are some games where, you know, he just runs out of cards, and like, which is decently hard because they're running like Faithless Looting and Bedlam Reveler, and Bedlam Reveler is also a creature. But Lingering Souls is a really hard card for me to interact with, I would say. It gets better after board because I'm running Is It Staticaster. And if they always kill the Staticaster with whatever, you can always just re-get it back with Culligan's command, which is really sweet. So I really like that little synergy there. But anyways, I was really kind of saying how, like, yes, is, like, when you ask people, like, oh, like, what control decks are really good right now, people are going to be like, oh, Blue-White or Jeskai. Like, Grixis doesn't even, like, come up with the conversation. Which I get, I understand that. And it's like, I ultimately feel like I'm playing the deck that, like, I like. I'm playing the cards that I like. I'm not going to go out like Jund. Like, I've said before how, like, I think Abzan's, like, sweet. Like, of the tricolor combinations, I would prefer to build Abzan over Jund. And a lot of people think that Jund is, like, one of the best Magic decks, and I would agree with them. It has totally its advantages. But, like, are casting Tarmogoyfs and Dark Confidants going to make me happy? No. And I want to cast cards that make me happy. Am I doing some things that, like, a lot of people would disapprove of and say that there are better things? I mean, like, yeah, sure. But, like, honestly, I could probably do whatever. I could probably do, like, a copy-paste of someone else's top 8 deck, and people would still be like, that's bad. And I'm just like, can't even freaking win, you know what I mean? And it's so, like, I don't want to do that. Like, that to me doesn't feel authentic. Like, if I'm going to go out and, like, steal someone else's, not steal, like, if I'm going to go and, like, take someone else's deck list, like, that just doesn't feel right to me. That just is not something that I would ever do, I don't think. Like, I just don't. The only thing I would say that I'd probably do that for is if I did play Bloom again, just because that deck list is so tight where I feel like there's really not a lot of room to, like, move things around in. Like, it's so, sideboard, I mean, is whatever. Sideboard can look different, should look different, but, like, I feel like there's not a lot of changing in that deck, if that makes sense. So, because the deck list is so tight. But, yeah, no, like, Paul and I were just talking about this before. I was just saying how, like, I don't want to cast cards that make me unhappy, and casting Snapcaster Mage makes me really happy. I'm also in the works, too, of actually brewing Blue-White, but then but also grabbing the cards for red, so if I do want to do tricolor, I can, which is really cool. But honestly, what I was telling him is I was like, no deck is ever going to win every single game, regardless of how much you see other people winning or whatever. Your favorite pro player is not winning every single game of Magic. It is not happening, regardless if that's the impression that you're getting from that. It's totally not. So I want to read to you guys one of my favorite quotes. That I actually, kind of like rediscovered this, I would say, because I forgot that this was a thing, and I remembered I like retweeted it, or I put it on Facebook and it showed up in like my memories, and I was like, this is really cool. So it's a quote by Paul Chian, and it says, sometimes you watch great Magic players play and you see their videos, read Duke's videos, Luis Scott Vargas videos, and Owen Turtenwall's, and they're always winning. Well, this is the other side, the other angle, when you get to watch a person lose repeatedly, crushing defeats with what is supposed to be good draws. I could have like the perfect draw, right? I could play Grixis Control and like, what's a good draw for me? I mean, like, I don't know, definitely like a hand disruption spell like Thoughtseize or Inquisition's really good. Maybe like 3 lands I'm good with. You know, like a Bolt, maybe like a Snapcaster Mage. What are we up to? 3 Bolt, Snapcaster Mage, K commands, hand disruption? Is that viable? Yeah, like something like that would be like a pretty sweet hand, right? I could have that. I could do everything right. I could make no misplays or whatever, and I could still lose the game. On the other hand, you could have your opponent who moles to 3 and still wins. Like, you know, it's just so, like, there's so much that goes into variance. Like Zane was saying, that, like, there's so many factors that go into it, and, like, it's frustrating. Like, this is frustrating. Like, Magic is a frustrating thing, and it, like, sucks because, like, I feel like it's, like, a game and it should be, like, fun and it should be, like, not that area, but I'm trying to do my best, like, this time around with Magic. Like when Isaac and I were playing, like, we played, like, 6 games. I won, like, 1 game. So, like, again, that matchup just made me really hard. We also didn't do sideboard, too, so, like, that, you know, is a factor into it as well. But typically when I grind Modern, I typically try to just stick to not sideboard. I try not to worry about that. I try to just keep the flow going and to just grind with the deck as it is kind of thing. So the matchup is definitely a little hard for me. And, you know, there were plenty of games where I mulled because, like, I only had 1 land and stuff like there's so much that, like, goes into that. And it's just, like, with that, like, I could have taken that and gotten so frustrated. Like, I could have been like, we just played, like, 6 games and I won 1 and, like, flipped a table or did whatever I had to do. But I was like, no. I was like, that's, like, I want to, one of my goals, I would say, is I want to get better at Modern, and I want to not be as frustrated with myself and not be as frustrated with how I'm doing performance-wise, because it is all a learning process, and people who are on the Pro Tour and all that sort of stuff, like, a lot of these people too, like, people who, like, write for, like, Star City Games or whatever, like, that is their job. And, like, if your job is that, you have, like, so much time to, like, dedicate towards Magic. You know what I mean? Like, my situation, like, I'm in a school right now, which I freaking love. I love my kids. They're awesome. I have 6th and 7th graders, and I'm a special education paraprofessional, so, like, I just basically help students with special needs and, like, you know, bop around to a lot of different classes and stuff, and I love it. And I do that and, you know, wake up at, like, 6:30. You know, I have my day. I don't really have that many breaks and stuff throughout the day, which on my breaks I'm not really thinking about Magic. And then get home at, like, 4:30, 4:45, you know, make dinner, maybe film videos. Pretty much been going to Magic on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then pretty much, you know, after we eat, we'll, like, go to Media Sanctum and, like, play from, like, 5 to, like, 10, 3 days a week. It's been usually EDH, but I'm trying to jam some Modern games in there if there's people around. And then, so, like, on days like today, like Tuesday, like, I'm filming, like, I'm gonna do some baking after this and, like, you know, some other things. So it's like, I don't really have, like, that much time in my day, like, on those other off days where I'm not playing Magic, like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, yeah. Like, I don't really have that much off time in those other 2 days to, like, do a lot. Like, but I have to say, I've been good about watching Magic. I'm almost done with Dallas Fort Worth, and then I'm gonna watch GP. What was the most recent GP? I can't think off the top of my head about what it's called, but I'm gonna watch that, the most recent GP, and that was Modern, and, you know, keep up with that and stuff. And so that's been really good. I've been doing that. I've been keeping track of watching Magic or practicing Magic every day. So I've been like that. And it's just something I feel like to get better at and to do a lot and to, like, not get as frustrated with, because it's so easy to, like, get really upset. But I'm just like, you know what? I'm still learning. I'm still in the process of learning, and it's what is the thing called? Like, the glass ceiling or whatever. Like, there's so much room, like, basically for me to grow. And again, like, there's some people who really dedicate all their time towards Magic, and I think that's super awesome, and do all the research and whatever. But it's just like, for, like, a lot of people who aren't, like, the pros, like, who really work for Star City or work for Channel Fireball, and, like, you know, that's super cool that you can stream all day or play Magic Online all day. Like, that's awesome, but, like, for the average person, I just don't think that's the reality. And it's like, again, like, on the offhand days where we're not playing Magic, like, we don't play Magic on the weekends right now unless there is, like, a tournament where we will go play a tournament or something when those come up. But no, like, and again, it will be a part of my day, but it's not like I'm gonna go home and, like, I mean, I know I say, like, we're playing Magic, like, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays from, like, 5 to, like, 10 o'clock, but, like, on those other days, like, it's something that's a lot. Like, I don't know, I guess I could see myself doing that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but, like, I don't know, it's just, like, I'm doing what I can right now, and, like, that's kind of all I'm really gonna do. So I'm gonna go, we're gonna play, you know, some Modern, and I'm gonna lose a lot, and that's just how it is. And, like, okay, so other thing, connection. So I'm writing a new story right now, which is really exciting, and there's elements that I'm bringing in, like, where the character, it's kind of sort of, like, takes place in, like, a card store. Not like it's, like, the only setting, but and there's, like, the game in there, which it's called Domination, because I couldn't think of anything more creative, and I was like, that kind of, like, fits, like, a game thing, I guess. So it's called Domination, which is, like, magic pretty much in the story without calling it magic because like copyright. And one of the characters was like, my main character, his name's Kyron, and he was like, you know, like the issue with all of you players is like you all think you know what cards are so good and you think you're gonna win all the time. But the reality is that you can be wrong and you don't win all the time. Like, you are gonna lose way more than you win. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of stole that from John Martin because we were talking and he went to like some tournament and he was just like, listen, he's like, I've lost way more Magic tournaments than I've ever won. And again, like, even people who like are super good at Magic that I like totally respect, like, don't do all the time. And I think that's just a matter of like letting that sink in, that there's so much that goes into Magic that loses. You could have a day where you literally just don't draw lands or like don't draw any of your removal. Like, it's just, there's so much luck. There's a lot of luck that goes into Magic. Obviously there's skill, but like there's definitely luck that I think sometimes people overlook to be like, oh, well, like that person's just good at the game. I mean, yeah, but like if you draw 20 lands in a row, like that doesn't comment on you or your deck. That just comments on like you had an unlucky go and it just happened like that. So I think that's just something that people forget about a lot of times and just kind of need to like incorporate more. So this video has kind of been long enough. So I was gonna get on to another rant, but I was gonna get on to another tangent, but I think I'm gonna leave it off here because this video is a little bit over 20 minutes and I think that's pretty sufficient for now. But I'd really love to know what you guys think if you made it to the end. And also, I meant to mention this in the beginning, but I totally forgot. I made a Twitch account. It will be listed in the down bar below if you want to check it out. I haven't set a date yet for like when I'm going to start streaming, but just knowing my schedule and knowing when I go play Magic now, it'll probably be maybe something like Tuesdays or Thursdays, maybe Thursdays I'm looking, but let me know what you guys think, just so I can get a time. And I'll post that stuff on like Twitter, because like YouTube, like I don't really want to like make a video to be like, hey, I'm streaming, because like everyone may not see that immediately, but like I feel like if it's on a tweet, like more people will see that. So definitely check out and follow my Twitter if you're interested in Twitch and you want to keep up with games, just because I'm doing like Twitch, to be honest, like for me, like I'm doing it and filming it because it's really good at like me talking through my decisions. And like, yeah, you guys get to see that and that's awesome, but like I'm doing that so I can talk through my decisions and I can explain my rationalizations, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I'll link that in the down bar below. That's pretty much it, Bam Fam. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my video, and I just really want to hear what you guys have to say. I have no idea what I'm gonna call this video because it's like the biggest mishmash ever, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I will see you guys in the next video.